Hey, everybody, it's Friday, January 10th, 2025. Welcome to the Giant Bombcast Revengeance. I guess we don't really number these episodes, but welcome. I'm your host, Jan Ochoa. Joining me, as always, co-captain of the ship, Jeff. What do you got there? I'm not going to acknowledge him. Jeff Grubb.
Hi, yeah. I'm happy to be here. I'm back from Pittsburgh and then Youngstown. I survived Youngstown despite all of the organized crime.
I'm surprised and glad that you.
I really threw you off with this thing, huh?
I'm just not going to look at you anymore, Mike. Survive the organized crime. Speaking about organized crime, he's the most organized man on this team, arguably. Turbo Sean McDowell.
We absolutely do number these, Jan. It's always just numbered the same as the Tuesday show.
Oh, there you go. That's why I called you the
Revengeance, everybody.
You're the most organized man because you pay attention to the details. Speaking about the details, the devil in the details. He's in between the lines. He's in between. He is the notes that aren't played. Dan Reichert.
I'm the jazz of games media, is what many people have been saying. Ooh. Yes,
that's what we've been saying behind your back this whole time.
Please have Mike's mic muted until he changes his stupid display thing to his new moniker.
That's right. Folks, he's no longer the bad boy of games media. He's the play of the game, the puck slammer.
No, we're not doing that. We're not doing. Can you guys take this seriously?
Oh, Mike, the guy who's screaming about Pogs many times doesn't like that it's his nickname now.
You guys actually kind of should have seen Mike at Games Done Quick. It is like, listen, I also want to be seen on camera. Okay, of course I do. But Mike, his lack of shame is a superpower. It is just so, like, first of all, he disappears. He's like, I got to go potty, like one of the 50 times he went potty. And he comes back and he's got the damn thing he's got on right now, which is a light up LED sign that he made say Tokoto. He says he was going to make it say Jeff Grubb. Fuck Jeff Grubb. And he was so happy with himself. He put it on his card and everything. And he's just like a pig in shit. And then it was like every opportunity to move a little bit closer, a little bit more in front of the camera, he was just like a dog when the mailman shows up. He just like shot to the door and started barking at it. It was impressive
Look on
to
his
witness.
face, just like smiling like a child, waving at the camera and everything.
And I'm like, yeah, I will go along with you. I'm glad you're here, Mike Minotti. It was a good time.
Mike, do you want to say something?
I'm sorry. I feel like I used to be the lack of shame guy. I used to be the look at me guy. And then it's like, I'm like Horizon Zero Dawn, and all of a sudden Breath of the Wild comes in.
Thank you for calling me the Breath of the Wild of Giant Bomb. I appreciate that.
Everyone thought I was very good, and all of a sudden here comes Breath of the Wild. Fuck. The king has arrived.
Yeah, I mean, hey, it's fun to see yourself on camera, right?
Yeah. Mike, you're on camera 3-4 times a week.
So much. Not enough. Oh, excuse me. I don't mean to scream.
Of course. Speaking of, Jeff, I'm wondering, were you getting like notably loud when you guys were at Games Done Quick? Because I swear I kept hearing you in particular.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, all that. Jeff's the one who would randomly scream. The guy in the crowd was like, during the Tears of the Kingdom run, any Pura fans here? And Jeff goes, yeah!
A man asked me a question and I answered it.
A couple of polite claps, and then Jeff Grubb is screaming like he's on fire. Yeah!
I googled Pura, and it appears to be an air freshener. What is?
Did you remember the character Pura, Dan?
Pura from what?
Yeah, Pura from Tears of the Kingdom.
Pura, Tears of the Kingdom.
Hey,
the lady with the glasses and the bun.
The lady that works in the clock telescope thing.
Yeah,
I would have also been yelling, Grubb.
Thank you. Yeah, absolutely. And other people yelled for like Saddam and
Saddam.
Yeah, Sidon. I can't remember his name. I don't remember. Listen, it's not.
I couldn't name any character in Zelda outside of Zelda, Ganon, and Link.
Jesus Christ!
Think about Link, huh?
I'm also sick, but I'm trying to get Tears of the Kingdom Breath of the Wild. I literally can't. There's the flappy delivery bird.
Yeah.
And in your
And the
defense, I
accordion
did
bird.
say Saddam. So, like, yeah.
This is going
Saddam
great,
turns
everybody.
out not in Zelda.
This is a great show.
What's Saddam Hussein in Zelda?
All right, well, let's skip all the pleasant.
I did yell a couple times. I'm surprised. Mike was yelling, but I just think he yelled with the crowd, and I burst forth. Yeah.
Yeah, you picked your spots. They
Yeah.
read my donation at one point, and it was.
And I yelled
like,
for that one as well. I think people heard that too.
At the same time,
Volcano.
my brother realized he lost his phone. He's like, "Oh, where's my phone?" I'm like, "Shut up! They're reading my donation."
Oh my God, we have a new Chektowski URL here. If anyone wants to go to thepogslammer.life, it's PAWG-slammer.life, goes to Mitch Tolkoto's Blue Sky page.
And then, like, your header image there, Mike, is perfect for the Pog Slammer.
All right, you guys are too much.
You don't want to yes and us here?
Wait, is he Pog slamming in that banner image?
Yeah, guys, come on.
Who knows?
We made Mike uncomfortable. They said it couldn't be done.
Yes, that's the one thing.
We found his shame. Hip, hooray! Hooray!
Triple H.
Okay, all right. Welcome to BOMBCAST Revengeance.
Real quick, people wonder, like, why are they always yelling and why are they always making these? We're just actually friends. This is what happens.
No, this is our bid to appeal to the youth.
Yeah,
You're
we're
right.
not
The
friends.
corporation told
don't
us
like
we have to
each
be more
other.
TikTok friendly. Yeah.
Oh boy. All right. I don't care about what games you've been playing.
Red Dead 2, actually.
Well,
Wait.
Yeah, we don't need to talk about that one.
then I really don't care then. Folks, I visited the new Fandom San Francisco office yesterday, and let me tell you, looks good. A specific part that looks good, the studio.
Yeah.
And we'll share some stuff later on about that. Shouts out to John Luke and the crew for working on that thing. Also, shouts out to John Luke for using the budget to buy a bunch of miscellaneous things that I immediately took from the office because
Nice.
Osmo wouldn't, or DJI wouldn't send me one of these. So I just took one from the office. Shouts out to John Luke. Anyway, we are here, Sean. We're here to recap the Fantasy Critic, the Giant Bomb League results of last year, 2024.
Yeah, we'll do that. We'll talk maybe a little about that top 50 from Rolling Stone, and then if we have time, maybe we'll do a
little free form. We'll see.
Yeah,
what
we're hanging out.
Episode.
Yeah, we're hanging out like friends do. Sean, I couldn't think
Screaming.
All right. Okay, folks, I know we poke fun at the subreddit all the time, but like, yo, friends yell at each other.
Yeah.
You know?
No, we should analyze the volume of their voice and what that means socially for them.
I mean, you know, when you start calling one of your friends the Pog Slammer, does
Right,
that
you
not
can't say that in
warrant-
a
He
normal
started
voice.
calling himself that, and we're just going along because we're good
Right.
friends.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. We haven't spelled out how we're calling him the Pog Slammer. You know,
Yeah, exactly.
It came from us. I was talking about my Pog Slammer, and Mike was like, "That's me."
Oh, I did it.
I'm the Pog Slammer now.
He said, "That's what I called myself in high school," and then we just went with it. Yeah.
Just like that, yeah.
yeah. And Mike slapped me across the face, and he just texted me a middle finger emoji.
He's a bad boy.
I don't think high school we were calling them pogs yet, right?
What?
Them, huh?
Elaborate, please.
What do you mean, Pogs? Like the
I'm not
cardboard
helping him.
circle
I
things?
literally learned that term thanks to Mike Minotti.
Yeah, during Robo.
Yeah, I made a whole
non-pog-
TikTok about it. I remember. That was
The
like the first thing I did
non-innocent
working
pog
here.
Okay, Sean. I'm gonna defer to you, sir, because
Oh, please.
you have a better control and understanding of the Fantasy Critic. First, if you could
He was the
re-explain.
commissioner, right? You were commissioner,
Yeah, he was
Sean?
commissioner.
Commissioner,
Okay.
which basically just means that, yeah, if anything breaks, I help fix it. Because
Yeah, sure.
it kind of runs itself. So,
Yeah. Sean, could you first explain the concept, and then we'll get into the standings.
I'd love to. So Fantasy Critic is this game that we play throughout the year. It's named as such because it's like fantasy football, but for Metacritic, or in this case, OpenCritic, scores. And so basically the idea is that you want to, quote, draft a team, which is just make a list of the games that you think will perform the best throughout the year, score-wise. If you don't know how fantasy football drafting works, well, the easiest way to explain it is just that you need to pick a game before anyone else does, because each game can only be picked once, and you just want the list of the best, highest scoring games of the year. And so that's what we did throughout the year. We had the initial draft at the beginning where we had our initial smaller lists, and then we were given
3 games, right? And then a counter pick. Was that what we did?
Yeah, I'm trying to think of how we did. I think it was 3 games and a counter pick. Counter pick meaning a game you think won't do notably well. You think you'll score yes, someone else picked it, and you think you'll do a 70 or lower, because each point that gained above 70, you would lose
or won't come out. There's a lot of like minor details here. Sean's doing a good job.
Yeah, you're doing a great job, which is really running over me here.
Yeah,
Jeff.
Sorry. Keep going, please.
And then, speaking of the point system, though, for each point you score above 70, you would gain 1 point. If you're a game on your roster scored above 90, each point above 90 actually scores you double points. So, you really want to get the games that'll do very, very well, like, the major releases of the year, as we'll see when we go over some of this. But yeah, and then the last thing is we were each given a budget, kind of like, a fantasy football type of thing, where you bid on games throughout the year that, ones that just get announced recently or they didn't get in the initial draft, and you try to outbid people to add games to your roster. So yeah, the short version is just trying to get a list of the best games of the year.
Mm-hmm. And we had the whole Giant Bomb staff participate in that. So that was us 5 plus Jeff Bakalar, Nikki Grayson, Tamor Hussein, and Lucy James all competing against each other. Sean, do we want to start at the bottom?
Do we want? Well, I don't know. There's something that goes along with being at the bottom, so I guess we could. Because it's more exciting to see who's at the top. But yes, in last place, 9th place, with 8 points on the board was Lucy James Games. Lucy James Publishes Games. We all named our little publishing teams there. Lucy, she played the game. I'll give her credit. I assume that she didn't based on the points here, but no, she has picked a lot of games that all scored around 70, so didn't get her many points. She picked some games that scored negative, such as Foam Stars, which lost her 10 points, and some games that didn't come out, like Silksong, Assassin's Creed Shadows, and The Altars. So bit of a rough year for Lucy there.
Yeah,
I do think she said that she forgot her login for most of the year, so a lot of these picks were last minute scrambles.
Yes, and then she was like, and I don't get sports. And I'm like, I don't think that would help you here, Lucy, but all right, we'll take that because you're British. One step up from Lucy, in 8th place was Jerf with his Important Collective. A bit of a bump up in points there to 20 points on the board in the year. Similar situation where he didn't pick too many poor choices, but the difference here is that Jerf counterpicked, presumably because he thought it wouldn't come out. He counterpicked Silent Hill 2 Remake, which lost him 17 points. And maybe he also forgot about the game because he didn't counterpick a second game, which automatically loses you additional 15.
I think Silent Hill 2 happened and he just gave up.
I think he just gave up after that point, yeah.
I think it's funny because out of everyone on the team, I feel like Jerf would bring it up a lot. Of like,
he was thinking about it.
You got this on fantasy.
Yep. Yeah, but I think Silent Hill 2 just broke him.
Yeah. 17 points is a lot to lose.
On Giant Bomb, I think Backlar's person I would most enjoy being in an actual fantasy league with, right? Imagine getting like really into it, getting like very comically upset by it and things.
He probably
like
plays
that.
fantasy hockey, I bet.
Yeah.
He was the one talking about this the most throughout the year, I feel.
He brought it up all
like
the time.
bringing it up until he kind of dropped a little bit. 7th place here was Tam's Grow Up. That's all he named it. Tam, had a really good start because he was the first person to draft, so he got Tekken 8 right off the bat, which got him some double points there. Also got some solid choices in the fan favorite Dragon Ball Z Sparking Zero. You got Helldivers 2. You got Brothers Remake, which was eligible. He counterpicked, at the time it was my Fire Emblem Remake, which did not come out. So he's doing pretty good. And I think Tam, also kind of forgot about the game because he didn't pick any other games after that, and did not counter pick a second game. So he also got that 15-point loss there, coming at 41 points.
His remaining budget is the entirety of the $100.
Yes. So, didn't pick anything. Yeah. Then next up, we have Nikki in 6th place with their Good Video Games TM. Nikki just didn't really pick any bangers this year. A lot of games hovering around that a lot of 77s on the dot, actually. They also picked new Mario Kart, which did not come out this year. Pokemon Legends ZA, which did not come out this year. They did correctly counterpick Earthblade, which also did not come out this year. Unfortunately, I think they assumed that Indiana Jones and the Great Circle would slip because they counterpicked that, losing 17 points. So another one there where the counterpick screwed them over.
I assume we were thinking when we picked these that the Switch 2 might come out last year.
Oh,
right?
yeah, definitely.
Yeah. He's like,
those are the rumors that
Mario,
time,
didn't they?
Yeah.
I think got Mario and then dropped it.
Smart.
Was that me? I think it might have been me.
It was huge. Yeah,
I think so.
Yeah. That sounds right. And I think, honestly, this is a pretty good showing for Nikki because I think they had the worst draft. Because they picked some pretty questionable ones. So to have a kind of a comeback and get up to 6th place, pretty impressive.
Yeah, well, Nikki did pick last in the draft. So even though it's a snake draft, so they got to pick 2 in a row. You know, after the Final Fantasies and the Tekkens and like all of that were picked, it was a little more difficult there. So a rough time.
Our World didn't really hurt them as much as I thought it would.
World. Yeah, in fact, I think lost Jeff 1 point because he counterpicked that and actually scored a 71.
That's exactly right. Yep.
Yeah. Okay, moving up next was Jan himself with Cut the Check Games. Let's see how Jan did down here. You know what, Jan? You did pretty all right, except for a couple of key issues here. Would you like to talk about your list?
Well, see, I forgot to counterpick a second game because I think I was on the fence of whether or not a game would come out, and then I think I forgot myself.
I think like the Indiana Jones counterpick from Nikki was representative of like there just wasn't a lot of good options at that point. Like you had to counterpick something, and everything seemed like a bad choice.
Yeah, friendly reminder to everyone listening, like Jeff mentioned, you have to counterpick a game that someone else has drafted, and we mostly had like some solid games this year. Not too many scored in the negatives.
And that also goes in the draft order, so it's like at least in the initial one. And so it's like everyone else is picking the obvious ones, and then you have to pick up the one that like you think might slip. And then for this later one, it's like everyone had dropped the stuff that was confirmed not to come out, so you were in a tough spot.
I think you know what? I think I initially drafted that the game that Mikey dropped, and that might have hurt me or whatever. But maybe that would have tracked it. Anyway, the thing that hurt me the most was Skull and Bones. Yeah, who would have thought? Who would have seen that coming?
That was definitely you panicked and we're having a hard time thinking of other games coming out.
I wasn't panicking. I was not.
No, because that was his second pick, Mike, out of 4. I remember now we had.
It was nice of you to try to give him that cover, though, Mike.
Was that you goofing? Were you goofing on us? Were you not taking it seriously, Jan?
No, because I thought maybe Skull and Bones might be a surprise hit because it'd been in development for so long. Because if something is being developed forever, that means it's going to be good, right?
And the longer something's in an oven, the better it is.
I think about wine.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, forever, Chinese democracy, all those things were the best.
All the stars, yes. All right. Well, next up was me. I came in 4th place here with my Lucky Loppany Feet Inc., as everyone knows. I did pick a full roster here. I kind of had the same problem of a fair amount of games in the 70s not really hitting. I thought all the old men would just lose their minds over Nintendo World Championships, even though we knew it would be a mediocre game. Unfortunately, the Andy Robinsons of the world saw it for what it was and scored 71. Lego Horizon Adventure is kind of same thing. Didn't really hit with anyone, so 71. Monument Valley 3 is unscored. I thought that game came out this year.
Yeah, but I didn't have enough reviews.
I think you had the same problem I had later, where it just didn't get enough reviews.
Weird. Okay,
that is weird.
Yeah, when I was trying to flesh out my roster at the end of the year here because I had to drop something that didn't come out, the Fire Emblem remake, and then I think did I have another drop, like I used the other drop I had, or something like that. But I did get a good amount of points, which is why I'm high up here. with Metaphor. Metaphor got me 25 points
Oof.
there. And then I also had, my RPG brain, Dragon Quest 3 and Unicorn Overlord both got me some good points.
Good choice for
Thanks.
Dragon Quest, Sean.
Yeah, I knew that would hit. Like, there's no way it wouldn't have. So I think my list overall pretty good, but not quite good
You were
enough.
in the mix. You were in the mix.
I was in the mix
because you're above 100 and that's where kind of
you
we all are.
guys counted me out. You thought I had no chance. I would like to point out, like the previous, like the bottom half-ish of the list here was all kind of close together. There's a jump from Jan at 57 points to me at 105, so I was competitive.
What's the math there?
And then only 6 points above me getting into the top 3 was Mike Minotti's Critical Path Publishing. Wow, remember that Giant Bomb meme? Mike, you had a good list here. You want to talk about it?
Yeah, I started off really strong with Persona 3 Reloads was my first take. Like I had a pretty good grab, I think, with Braid Anniversary Edition, a game only I thought about.
Damn.
I got an 89 score. I had good counter picks because I had Skull and Bones, and then just that 3D Mario game that didn't come out. And then I had quite a few stuff that sort of under-delivered, like Plucky Squire was only 82. Star Wars Outlaws was a 75, and I was being way more optimistic about that one. SteamWorld Heist 2, only an 82. And then at the end there, I was kind of scrambling, like what's even coming out? There's some alien game, Rogue Excursion, that got me 7 points. And then Rivals of Aether 2 was one I picked up, and that I had a problem there where the game did in fact come out, and it just did not get enough reviews to actually get a score. So I got 0 points from that. So like nothing disastrous here. Like everything, I didn't have a single like pick that lost me points or a single counter pick that lost me points. It just didn't quite come together despite Persona 3 Reload, Indiana Jones, and Braid giving me pretty big boosts.
That's right. And then
really good pick though, Mikey, with the freaking Braid Anniversary Edition. I would never have thought to draft that.
I'm a big Braid guy, so I was like, and that
I'm surprised that one counted.
Yeah,
I feel like that should have been more of a remaster, but I guess it was counted as a remake, which remakes are allowed by our rules.
So somebody who reviewed that, and it's like surprisingly a lot of new content and like stuff done over. So yeah,
gotcha. All right, second place here then,
and then the best of the non-cheaters, I think we should say,
went to Jeffrey Grubb with his Grub One Out games. Let's see. Looking at Jeff's list again, a very solid list here. I think you really pulled one over on us with Balatro here.
$1.
Son of a bitch.
Yeah,
why don't you talk about that in the rest of your list too?
Yeah. So that was like when I'm like, oh, I think I have a good shot here because I'll get Balatro for $1 when I don't think anyone else is going to notice. No one else was like fully engaged at that moment, and I got away with that one. And then it did way better in reviews than I was even expecting, and it was fun to like lord that over you guys for a while. And then I think where it goes wrong for me, because I have some other like Neva is an 87. I got 17 points. That was really good. Dragon's Dogma 2, which was my first pick. 87, 17 points. Like I was in a good position to catch up to the winner. But Microsoft Flight Simulator 2000 got a 93 or something like that, or 91 at least. Did very well. I was expecting that to hit. And Dragon Age the Veilguard, I was expecting this to be a return to form, as all the reviews said, for Dragon Age the Veilguard, and it got a 79. And then at Flight Simulator 2024 got a 76. So between those two, that's like where my opportunity to catch up to the winner was. And when both of those didn't hit, I didn't really stand a chance. Things like Mario and Luigi Brothership, I didn't have a ton of faith in necessarily, but I was like, maybe that'll get a lower 80. It didn't do that. Got a 77. So yeah, got some luck from like Neva and Infinity Nikki and Path of the Goddess. But overall, it was just not quite enough.
Yeah, you did scoop up Infinity Nikki there. I was thinking about that as one of my last ones, but I didn't know how that would hit with people. I feel like their review scores tend to be a little lower for free-to-play games in general, regardless of the content. So I was a little worried about that one. But yeah, 10 points is solid there.
Yeah, I'll take that 10 points for Infinity Nikki for sure, especially at that point when I was picking. It was my last game that I picked. And then, my Pal World, you're right, lost me maybe a point. It says, 0 points.
Yeah, because of rounding. I think you didn't actually lose anything. I think Nikki also didn't. No, I think they lost the full one. So it's, just however the rounding there worked out.
Yeah, and then Mina the Hollower. So both those, I didn't get anything from those, but the position that I was drafting and the point where I did my second counter pick, that's best case scenario, really.
Yeah. All right. And then lastly, first place here. I can't even be mad. He just played the game well. You know, he just had some good picks here.
Two of the 3 top reviewed games of the year, I think.
Yeah, he drafted Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. He hilariously blew almost all of his budget, I think $70 of the $100 on Astrobot, which did pay off 29 points there.
Accidentally, because I didn't understand how the betting thing worked.
I didn't reveal who it is yet, Dan. You shut up. UFO 50 is on his list. 991 score there. Like, both of his counter picks didn't lose any points there. Your winner for the year, Reichert's Market's own Dan Reichert. Very good, Dan.
Yeah, handily. The point spread is really impressive when you look at it. That's the thing that impresses me the most when you look at
You have
three below me were 105, 111, 118. I got 142. That's a massive spread there. Look at that.
Yeah. Mike's right. You did have a game that scored 0 points, but you just had so many. Like here, let's just run down the winning list here. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, 93. Princess Peach Showtime, 75. Paper Mario 1000 Year Door Remake, 89. Frostpunk 2, 85. Astrobot, 95. Rift of the Necrodancer, didn't release. But Black Ops 6, 83, UFO 50, 91, Anton Blast, 85, and Mighty Morphin Power Rangers Rita's Rewind, you broke even on, so you didn't lose any points. So, yeah, just a really good list. Nicely done. Explain your list, please, Dan. Any surprises, anything that you were really happy about?
I think when it was my turn to pick, I looked at the list of games and I picked the ones that I thought seemed the best and would review the best. That's my strategy.
Interesting strategy.
And then I screwed up and didn't know how this worked, and I lost my login a million times throughout the year. And I just got really lucky every time I logged in. It was the right time where I could take a game that did well.
Not knowing how it worked helped you with Astrobot.
Oh, totally.
You put so much money into that, and I'm like, I put like $45 on that. No one else is going to risk that much money for Astrobot, and I'm like, but I know that all these guys want it, so I'm going to go for it, and I'm going to get it. And then you put $70 on it, or whatever, and
I thought that was a maximum, and it worked out. I was bummed when I saw that I actually spent all 70 whatever, but then I thought, well, I'm probably pays off that I got that.
It clearly did, yes.
Yeah, I think it was after. Was it after the trailer went up? Because that's when it shows up on this. I think is when the game's actually announced. And so I think we saw the trailer, and I was like, okay, that looks. There's no way that's not going to be incredible.
I mean, let's be clear. Yeah, if you had not done that and I won that, I would have won. Like that would have flipped it. So yes,
Oh wow.
And Dan did steal Black Ops 6 from me. He just barely beat me out in the bidding, which means I would have been in third place as well because the math works out there. But he just barely got that one too, and that one really paid out there. It's those 13 points. So yeah, again, he just picked the best games, played well.
He's got actually 3 of the 4 highest reviewed games of the year.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
That helps. Yeah, that's good. Showtime was. I don't think I expected to get a ton of points from Showtime, but I got some, which is it's
definitely underperformed. I think we all thought it would maybe do a little bit better than 75.
I could see it closer to like 80 or something, but I don't know, playing the game, I think 75 is about right. So
Frostpunk 2 was a good early get for you. My 1000 Year Door number 3 was brilliant. That game was always going to review pretty well, but then it also happened to be like a very well done remake too. So. Yeah, it's an impressive list. Like Mighty Morphin Power Rangers Rita's Rewind was like a good late pool. It didn't quite pay.
Had to throw money into something,
Yeah, that one could have got you some points.
Yeah, you never know.
Yeah.
It's better to break even than to lose. So
Anton Blast though, Dan. Wow.
I think it was also late, and it was like I have some money, and it's like let's see what's still available, and that was on there, and it's like I didn't really know much about it, but I'd heard Grub bring it up a couple times. I looked it up. Looked like a good Wario Land type thing. So yeah, why not?
Yeah. Yep. Congratulations, Dan Reichert.
Thank you. What do I win?
All right, let's move on.
It's just my name. So you all want to? Yes. Thank you.
Sean, why don't you tell the folks at home what is the consequence for getting last place?
That's right. So for getting 9th place, Lucy James has to play the worst reviewed game on this list. I don't know quite how we're going to do that because there's 2 of them. I would like to hold her to both if we could, because that would be funny. We confirmed she is at least going to do a stream of Skull and Bones, and maybe we'll also force her to play some Foam Stars.
12-hour streams each.
Of course. Yes.
Yeah.
She has to wear the Donkey Kong costume for both. So Lucy, You're gonna have to play both. That's just how the rules are.
Yeah, that just checks out.
That sounds good. I thought that was pretty successful. That worked out pretty good. I would make some changes to Fantasy Critic. Personally, I would like maybe make it quarterly or something like that. But I say we do it again. And so
I would do it.
We got a draft planned up, ready to go, Jan.
Yes. So because the whole crew is not here and we want to just double check if everyone wants to participate in it, the draft will be coming in 2 weeks, January 24th. So right before any big games are popping out, we still have time to swoop on stuff. Maybe more things will get delayed. Who knows? But yes, maybe to make sure that it is something front of mind, we will have like once a month checkups on it, just so people are staying on top of it.
For me, that's how we make it quarterly. We do quarterly checkups.
Yeah,
because like I remember, Jan, me and you did that episode when everyone was gone and we needed something to do. But yeah, maybe we make it a more regular thing.
Thank you, Commissioner, for that lovely roundup and explainer on Fantasy Critic. Congratulations once again to the champion, Dan Reichert, and congratulations to Lucy for having to play Skull and Bones. Can she play Foam Stars?
Yeah,
I think we do a double header stream, Skull and Foams. Lucy James, Skull and Foams, double header stream.
Yeah, people were wondering. They're cutting off new content, but the servers are still up. You can still play that game.
Oh yeah,
so, that's right. And they said there's no like announcement of it shutting down. So yeah, we're good there.
Skull and Foams. Okay, all right.
Well, that's good. That's good.
That's good. Folks at home, we're going to take a quick bricky break, and we'll be right back with the Rolling Stones 50 best games of all time.
I thought the Rolling Stones were guests. Okay.
And we are back, folks. If you missed it, we determined our own top 10 games of 2024. Go and listen to the Game of the Year podcast. We all had a very fun time. We're all yelling during that as well. So sorry.
It's for TikTok, folks.
It's for TikTok. Yeah. We were all, none of us actually had a lav or like a stick mic. We all just had like the tiny DJI or Rode mics that we're just holding up the whole time.
I pinned mine in my hat.
Yeah. Folks at home, the Rolling Stones put out their top 50 greatest video games of all time earlier this week, January 6th of this week. And they put out a top 50 of games, and I would like to talk about those top 50 of games. I don't know if you gents have seen the list, perused the list at all, but there's some notable additions and omissions on it.
Yeah, and I think it's worth they talk a little bit about their thought process here. To pick the best games ever made, there's a lot of considerations. Gaming is a medium where sequels thrive. They can always look and play better. And while certain gaming dynasties run dozens of entries deep, they need to be there needs to be representation across the board. So I think they're kind of saying that they're going to try to consider usually maybe the first entry most of the time, or something like that represents the series in a lot of these cases. And then I think they're also going to consider how influential something was when it arrived. They said that in the for this list, we looked at both how influential each game was at arrival, as well as whether it still holds up. So they're going to kind of weight those things side by side. So importance matters in this list.
Yeah,
Sure.
I do kind of like the idea of one per franchise for the most part, because I've done a bunch of these before, and it always just winds up being well, the top 15 is going to be a bunch of fun: Metal Gear, Zelda, and Mario. And
yeah,
nice to consolidate.
Yeah, we're aware.
Yeah, we know.
Oh, I see. Yes.
Yeah, but they don't necessarily stick to that. They do have there's multiple Zelda games, there's multiple Mario games.
Yeah, I think they're just kind of saying they want to be mindful of it. Is kind of what it seems like. Yeah.
We're not going to go through all 50 games piecemeal, but I do want to go through their top 10 at least. And at 10, they have Super Metroid. Number 9, The Elder Scrolls V Skyrim. 8, the original Final Fantasy VII.
Yeah.
Number 7, Metal Gear Solid 98. Number 6, Half-Life 2. Number 5, The Last of Us. Number 4, Super Mario World. Number 3, Grand Theft Auto 5. Number 2, Tetris, 1989 for the Game Boy. And number 1, The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild.
That is not a crazy top 10. In fact,
That's not wild. Yeah,
it's not like a wild. No, this.
The way people were mentioning in passing, I thought it would be like someone else did this, and it was like a crazy top 10. Like, how could you think? No, this is like, especially if you're having people a little more casual about gaming talk about. Yeah, like this checks out.
Yeah.
The issue with this, the biggest issue with this and the list in general, the 50, is that there isn't a single 3D Mario game in it.
That is wild. Yeah. I'm glad that we're all mad about Sunshine not being on it.
It's got Madden on there. It's got Madden NFL 2004. Great game, but it doesn't have 3D Mario.
2004 was like the peak of Madden for me too. Like PS2 era Madden.
Yeah, it's interesting to me because, like, it's their list. They can do it however they want. I don't think that you include influence on a list of top games because they said it themselves. Like, games could always play better. Games could always look better. But the games that I think hold up are the games that still hold up regardless of age. Like
which
your Mario Brothers 3 or something, Mario World, Link to the Past. But like, and then to not include, if you are including importance, not having any 3D Mario at all, even in the top 50, feels weird. So
like I remember that is such a hard thing to do. I remember one of the first Game Informer issues I worked on was the 200th issue. We did the top 200 games of all time, and it did turn out that like influence and everything wound up to be a big thing. Like the first Zelda won number 1 on our top 200.
I remember this.
And the big argument there was that like, well, it just the influence was insane on that. And then like Tetris, Mario 3 were ones that were afterwards. So like you really have to do a differentiate if it's like best games to play now. Or it's just always hard doing these fucking lists. It really is.
Yeah. You just have to define it beforehand. That's all it is. And either is valid.
Even Mario, though, like, okay, influential, then 64 has to be there.
Oh, right.
Even if you're one of the people who think that game has aged poorly, which it can't be me. Well, okay, and just do Odyssey, which is just one of the best playing games ever. The Galaxy games. So that's just wild.
Exactly. Odyssey is like a borderline perfect video game for what's trying to accomplish. I struggle to think of anything wrong with it. So it's wild to not consider it, I think.
Yeah.
Maybe you don't like hats. That's the thing that bugs you.
That's true. There's those people.
I made a whole team in Marvel vs. Capcom 2 of just the ladies who wear hats.
And hat towels, yeah.
I mean, a lot of these old games here. Yeah.
How do you feel about GDQ having the rat towels? That's being a meme. Rat Night.
Yeah, I've seen that.
The femme rat towels. Yeah.
Yeah, I endorse it.
Like these older ones, like Tetris and Mario World being in the top 10 or Super Metroid, like they had the influence and they're also still really fun to play.
They're still great.
Yeah, that's why it's like I don't know if I were putting one of these lists together now, I would put A Link to the Past over the first one because even though the first Zelda had more influence, Link to the Past has that same style, but also looks good and plays good now.
Yeah, Zelda 1 is interesting because that's like I still like have fun playing Zelda 1 for sure.
I love
but
playing
that is kind of getting to the point like. How many people really would rather play Zelda 1 than A Link to the Past or just, one of the newer Zelda?
I wouldn't recommend it to someone, hey, where do I get into Zelda?
It would have to be for nostalgia. I can't imagine someone saying like Link to the Past does not play better than the first
I would say, hey, play Breath of the Wild and then go back and play Zelda 1 and see how they drew the line between the two and they're like, let's complete the ideas that we had in Zelda 1. Like it would be informational, be educational, which speaks to its importance, I think, still. But it's not the game I'm ever going to say, hey, if you want to get into Zelda, go start with Zelda 1. That would never be the answer for anybody.
To be fair, being a bit younger here, I didn't get to Zelda 1 until it was out on the GameCube bonus disc for what that was the Wind Waker pre-order one that had that, right?
The pre-order was the Master Quest, I think, and then
that was Master Quest, and then
like that Club Nintendo one. You bought the gray one was.
Yeah, I think it was included in GameCube. So I think that was the bundle one. Okay, so then on that one, that's where I first played Zelda 1. I was like, you know what? It's still pretty fun.
Oh,
like even in like early 2000s.
It holds up better even its reputation lends it to it. Yeah.
And then I fired up an emulator and tried out A Link to the Past. I'm like, oh, this is just better though.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm a Red Dead Redemption 2 defender. They have that at 16 and not Red Dead 1 on the list. That's a little wild to me. Red Dead Redemption.
They're very different games,
Yeah. But
so that's why I think in that instance, I would see like if they wanted to put both Red Deads on there, I could see that because they are different enough,
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, but I don't think they even put both of them on there. But then it's again, I defend Red Dead 2 that high on the best 50 games ever. And again, what's we're talking about influential. I don't think Red Dead Redemption 2 has influence on anything.
I mean, the influence it's had is like, boy, we can't spend that kind of money to make that kind of game.
Yeah. We can't make our game look like that.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah, I'm pleasantly surprised. Whenever a website or whoever puts out these big lists, I'm always more focused on like the lower end, and I'm happy that Chrono Trigger made it on. I'm happy that Tony Hawk even made it on. But
Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1 at 2023.
Yeah.
That's one where it's like Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1 is a good game. It's a very good game. Boy, the sequel, you're right, Rolling Stone in that preliminary paragraph, the sequel does play better in an important and influential way, where it's like Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2 is the game that actually ended up making the whole genre happen. So I think if you're going to pick one that is the right balance between important and plays well, I think it probably is Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2, but I would probably personally put Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3 on there.
They don't always stick to that. Like their Pokemon game here is Gold and Silver. It's not Red and Blue. And I agree, Gold and Silver is better. Yeah. But like Red and Blue is definitely the influential one.
Gold and Silver. Anytime someone picks Gold and Silver as the best Pokemon game of all time, you can tell exactly where they stopped playing Pokemon as well, because those are not the best games in the franchise.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, Sean, for Pokemon representation, if you were to put a Pokemon game on this list or a top 50, which one would it be?
I think the best Pokemon game overall is either Black and White or Heart Gold, Soul Silver. Like, why would Heart Gold, Soul Silver is in many ways just better. It's just they remade it. Some people say, "Oh, it's so slow." I'm like, as if the Game Boy ones weren't. But yeah, that's one there where you can tell that nostalgia is taking over there, because they put the original instead of the remake. So
I just searched Soul Calibur, and that is not on here. I mean, that's like a top 10 ever for me. And then I looked, and it's like fighting game wise.
There's
no Mortal Kombat, no Tekken, no Virtua Fighter. It seems like
Smash and Street Fighter. That's like what's important.
Yeah, those are the biggest two.
One of those.
Exaggerating. Those are the important ones.
Mortal Kombat are the big two. Man, Soul Calibur not being on here, that's crazy to me.
Yeah. This might just be me. Am I the only one who rolls my eyes at Wii Sports being on this thing?
Nope. No, it's appropriate. It is appropriate.
You are the only one, Mike. Yes, you are the only one. Yeah.
It's okay to be alone and right sometimes.
Nope, Wii Sports is a huge thing.
Mike Minai hates arcadey fun. Let me know.
That's me. That's right.
Yeah.
Jeff was in an arcade with me yesterday. I had a ton of fun. Except when he was beating me in Third Strike, I was having a great time.
I'm glad he mentioned it. Yeah.
You still let him beat you in Third Strike? Damn, dude.
I got him real good in Marvel vs. Capcom 2. But
we were leaving, and he wasn't moping, but you could tell he was a little wounded. And then he saw the Marvel vs. Capcom 2 machine and sat me down so he could beat me.
His pride back.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. It was very fun. Hollow Knight at 34 sound right to you folks that have beaten Hollow Knight?
I've come around on Hollow Knight I like it, and it's very good. I would not have it on a top 50,
I have no problem with it. I think
I was kind of asking you, Mike.
I have a problem with the one Mario Kart on here being Mario Kart 64.
Yikes.
Agreed.
That's and I met just before. It's my time to say boomer pick.
Yeah,
Mario Kart 64, but it's like maybe second worst Mario Kart,
Yeah, that's nostalgia. Well, because Mario Kart is one of those rare franchises. Christ, Jan. Mario Kart is one of those. Oh my God!
Go on, Sean, please.
Please. Sorry, Sean.
One of those rare series that kind of just only got better as it went on. Like Super Circuit on GBA, sure, that's a dip back because it was like Super Nintendo again. But other than that, they kind of just made it better as they went on. So yeah, definitely
Dash are better than this by far.
Definitely memories there. But again, giving them credit, this list also has like Symphony of Night is on there. They also have Celeste is on here, Metroid Prime, even if they're a little bit lower, Shadow of the Colossus, like they're recognizing some of the all-time greats.
That's what I was going to ask, because I feel like Shadow of the Colossus is probably on what would be my personal top 10, 50 games of all time. I'm actually surprised to see it represented here. And maybe this is just me thinking it was more niche of a game when it came out.
It feels niche now.
Oh, it is.
Sure.
Shadow?
It's a bit more niche. I love it. It would be on like my top 20. Probably.
Shadow is my number 65 game of all time.
Okay. It's on my top 100 as well. I can't remember where. It's just it's what the at the time when it came out, even though it's definitely niche now, the time it came out, it was sort of a statement game of saying this is what games can do. And everyone bought into that, rightfully so. It earned that.
Okay.
Yeah, it didn't. It is a niche pick though because it never sold well. It was always a cult classic.
Yeah. But I think it definitely represented a vision for what games were going to be going for that didn't pan out.
It's a game that, I don't like it myself, but I always respected it because of what it was doing, the scale it was going for. Like, it was a different vibe of game, being very calm and everything like that. So, yeah, it wouldn't surprise me at all to see it in a list like this, because if people have played it, they recognize it,
Mike Minotti, are you you're a big Overwatch guy. Were you surprised that maybe an Overwatch didn't make this top 50?
No, it's funny because, gosh, Overwatch was just one of the best reviewed things ever when it first came out, right? But that's the thing with these live service games. You're kind of only as good as you are now. I mean, we saw that with just Tekken 8 within the span of a year, right? Like, we looked at our Fantasy Critic, and that game was so reviewed beginning of the year, right? And then come Game of the Year time, nobody wanted to really talk about it anymore. In fact, like, the sentiment around it is sort of negative now, especially with like the hardcore fans with that one. So yeah, Overwatch is just in a rough spot right now. They can call it Overwatch 2, but it's basically been that same game, that same lineage there. So yeah, it's maybe a little bit unfair because we talk about influence, incredibly influential in a lot of ways. I think maybe they could have found room for here. Maybe we didn't need to have a Madden game and an NBA 2K game on here.
Yeah, I mean, I those are both very good games and very widely played. I get it, but I think I probably
2K11.
Yeah,
Mike, I didn't notice this until chat pointed out. Not a single Mega Man franchise game on here.
That's wrong. It doesn't surprise me. Like, the popular picks they should have and could have gone with here are Mega Man 2 and Mega Man X. Mega Man X is usually the one that can squeeze onto these things. So yeah, I would like to see that. I am happy that they aren't one of those Sonic was never good people. They did get Sonic the Hedgehog 2 on
Sonic 2 is awesome.
They did pick 2 though, which is like,
That's my pick.
like,
That's the best Sonic game ever.
Sonic Mania is the best Sonic game ever.
Yeah, Sonic Mania is the best Sonic game. Even me and Mike crowned it the best Sonic game ever. Because me and Mike did a stream where we ranked every Sonic game, and we forgot about Mania because we were like, oh, Mania is just number 1. We don't even need to talk about it.
It feels like it's too good to be an actual Sonic game.
Yeah, because it's not. It's a fan game that was just officially put out.
And I like Sonic, but it feels too good to be Sonic.
It is funny when like actual Sega tried to make a 2D Sonic game afterwards. The Sonic Superstars just not nearly as good.
Even then, I've always maintained that 3 and Knuckles is the best of the classic ones because but
Sonic
2 is also very good. 2 is
influential and stuff. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
Sonic Tuesday was the biggest day in gaming history.
Sonic Tuesday.
It was like a big early marketing thing. Yeah,
that and Mortal Kombat Monday.
Dan Reichert.
Yes.
I know there's a lot of talk here about one game per franchise, but would you have put another Metal Gear on this top 50?
That's the thing I always argue with myself with about Metal Gear is like, that is one series that I could see really splitting up because I'd say 5 of the numbered games are just so fucking different in a lot of ways, not just in story and setting and all that stuff. So like people ask me all the time, what's your favorite Metal Gear game? I don't know what to pick. And it changes every time I make one of these top lists. Sure. I have a different order of those. Right now, I recently watched Metal Gear Solid 4 and I was like, oh, right. The end of that is the coolest shit I've ever seen in a video game. So that's the 4th best game of all time. And that's how I feel right now. But I might play the Snake Eater remake and be like, well, that's the best one,
Hang on, Dan saying I watched Metal Gear Solid 4 is just the most appropriate sentence ever. That's what you do, Dan. That's what you do.
I've played through it many times, but I did just watch my sister play it. So.
I see. Okay.
Yes, but no, seriously, that is the best thing that's ever happened in a video game is the last fight in Metal Gear Solid 4. So, yeah, if I had to pick what's that?
Nothing.
What?
Called you a mark, and I laughed.
Probably right.
Thank you. But yeah, if you're gonna pick one, especially for a list like this, I could see like Metal Gear Solid 1 was almost like a Mario 64 level of like, everything's new, everything's changed, you know. So sure. I would put that as
the one I would have picked.
Yep.
As somebody who's like one step below, maybe in terms of like my reference for Metal Gear Solid, and which is still pretty high, but not Dan levels of high. I think 1 and 3 are the ones that would make these kinds of lists, and I wouldn't.
Yeah,
have
and like I told Dan recently, I only got to the full Metal Gear series only a few years ago, and 1 still absolutely holds up. Like that game is still fantastic to play. Yeah,
1's the one you do. You do 1.
Yeah, you do 1.
Yep.
For this Rolling Stones top 50, do you guys have one that like it was like really you think is absolutely spot on? Because for me, I do think number 1 being Breath of the Wild is.
I think it's great.
Is very, very correct if your goal is influential and holds up.
Also, too, Tetris. Like I think Breath of the Wild and Tetris as 1 and 2. I could absolutely see that argument.
And look, we may not like it because of what it's done. GTA 5 at 3, honestly, isn't a wild pick either.
That's the one I'm that's the one I was going to say is my one where I'm like, I don't need that one so high. But I get it.
Most people agree that's a great game. I know a lot of people are, especially in the hardcore gaming crowd, the people who are listening to this podcast right now are sick of GTA 5 by now. But if nothing else, boy, that influence was off the charts as well. So on top of being like a 9 or 10 out of 10 game, it was just everyone wanted to be GTA 5 for a long time.
It's kind of wild, though. Someone in chat pointed this out, that there's no Rock Band. I think it's kind of wild there's no Guitar Hero.
Yeah, some representation from that, because that was
like
such
Guitar Hero 2, maybe.
Probably should have put Elite Beat Agents over that, but yeah.
The whole thing so hard, right? You
can always tell something like penetrated the mainstream when like there's dedicated South Park episodes about it. Where it's like Guitar Hero, World of Warcraft.
About that, I'm glad that World of Warcraft is on the list.
It has to be, right? There's no possible way.
It was like number 12, right?
It's 12, yeah.
I'm happy that Mass Effect 2 made it on this list, and I think it's appropriate where it is in like the I believe it's like the 20s.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah.
The bottom half of that top 10 is weird to me because, The Last of Us, great game, obviously, but that being number 5 above Half-Life 2, Metal Gear Solid, Final Fantasy 7, Skyrim, and Super Metroid. Just like seeing it on top of all those games, like, oh boy, I like Last of Us a lot, but not above those.
It's definitely influential, maybe in some bad ways, but it's influential.
Sure.
Okay, what?
Skyrim at 9, real quick. Just I like that. I think that's probably pretty close to right. Probably not exactly right, but pretty close. I'm these days. I wonder if most people tend to agree. I wonder if the shines come off of Skyrim a little bit.
I defer to other people on that. They had a whole long conversation about this over on Axe of the Blood God, so I was like listening to what they had to say about it as like the big RPG fans, and I feel like everyone's sort of like turned a little bit on Skyrim of like, it was so big at the time, but at the same time, how does it play compared to other Western RPGs? Is it even the best Elder Scrolls game? And I do think what even my friends who really love Skyrim say, they're like, oh, Skyrim sucks. Skyrim with mods is the game that everyone actually wants to play.
But maybe that should still count. Part of me wants to count that, because if you become a platform for that and that's how people interact with the game, to me, that's probably still.
I feel like if
you're for the game for that.
If you're including influence in weighing your decision, that does because of how the community came together, and even like Bethesda played off of that with later releases. So sure.
And for this list, I think it makes sense.
I think Skyrim still does really well though, with the whole kind of like, hey, get going, go wander around and have adventures thing. And it like makes that very mainstream in a way that's very approachable, but it distills that very well. I do think the shine's going to come off, especially if that rumored Oblivion remake is a real thing, because that was probably always a slightly better game, and the big problem was that it was ugly. So if that's not ugly anymore, then it's going to make Skyrim look a little worse.
All right. Well, that was Rolling Stones'.
Saw Mario Kart 64 again. Never mind.
You know what?
29 is good. Yay.
For the wrestling folks, is it weird that there's no Mercy, or does No Mercy not cut the top 50? Maybe I'm just thinking of influences. Why?
Well, I'll fix it, Jan. Mine, WWF No Mercy is number 27. So
okay, yeah,
that's where it should be.
Thank you, Dan, for being on the right side of history.
You're welcome.
That's why I'm hitching my wagon to you.
Yeah, to my list. Yeah, the correct one.
Your list. The correct list. Folks, that was Fantasy Critic, and that was us chatting about Rolling Stones' top 50 games of all time. Not quite enough time to deem and crown a Mount Rushmore of coolest things you can do in a video game.
No, that was a good episode of BCR right there. I feel good about it.
Yeah, that was a solid ep. Folks, if you are watching live, please stay tuned. An hour from now, we will be dipping into Marvel Rivals. And then after that, voicemail dump truck.
Yeah, and for BCR in the upcoming weeks, we have some plans. There's an occasional week we might take a week off to do something else. But Sean mentioned he still wants to do the music review of 2024.
Yes.
That's still in the works, right?
Yeah, I think maybe even next week we could do that one. I think this is what we have scheduled.
That sounds fantastic.
Because I loved doing that last year. I definitely want to do it again.
Yep, and as we mentioned earlier, we will do a draft for Fantasy Critic. We're gonna get that before January's over because games really start coming out in February.
Yeah, for the rest of the month, we basically just have like remasters and stuff coming out. Yeah. So if we miss a couple of those, it's not the end of the world.
Wait, hold on. I just need to do a Control F here.
Oh no,
there's no BioShock on this list.
Oh wow.
Okay. I love BioShock. I think for a lot of people, it's maybe fallen off a little bit.
BioShock's a lot better than Mass Effect. As if we're talking 2007 games.
I like BioShock.
Wildly different games.
I vehemently do disagree with
they
that
were always
too.
talked about together, and Mass Effect's boring, and BioShock was fun.
Mass Effect's fun.
Is it just because people are wearing armor? Like, wait, what's the
what?
commonality between these
Dude, there's 07. They were like the two big, ambitious, they were always mentioned that E3 I was at, and I remember everyone's talking about those two. Yeah.
Nah, look at the face on this. No, look at the face on this motherfucker. He wants people to yell at him. I read you like a book. I mean, like
BioShock is much better than Mass Effect.
You don't like Mass Effect.
Is there any Assassin's Creed on that list? I just tabbed.
There shouldn't be. They wouldn't make top 300.
Assassin's Creed 2
top 500.
No, brother. Give me brother.
Assassin's Creed 2 is like the number 711th best game of all time.
To be Elden Ring is 44, and if Elden Ring's 44, yeah, Assassin's Creed's probably not going to be.
Elden Ring is 44. Wow.
Yeah, okay. No Dark Souls, like no other From Software.
Yeah,
that's gonna make a lot of people mad. But
definitely.
No Strangers of Paradise. That's so weird.
You almost said Lies of P. You're like, wait, not funny enough.
Lies of Paradise.
Lies of Paradise. Folks, that does it for this week's Bombcast Revengeance. Thank you so much for joining us. Like Grubb said, don't worry. We will get back into Fantasy Critic in 2 weeks. Sean's going to prepare a bunch of music to listen to next week. We're going to have ourselves a little listening party. Pretty much it is the best music of 2024. So not just best music in general.
I'll do like last year. We'll put a call out on Blue Sky and like get everyone to contribute what they like a lot last year. So it'll be a fun time.
I like that.
It'll be a fun listening app. And maybe we won't crown a specific winner. Maybe we'll just have a good time listening to music and crown like a top 3 or 4 or 5. Who knows?
What the hell are people? The bad news. Ernest died. Jim Varney, he's been dead for a long time.
I think chat's goofing about Ernest Hemingway or something else. I don't know.
He's probably also dead.
He died a long time
I know
ago.
a lot more about Jim Varney Ernest than Ernest Hemingway. I can tell you a lot about Ernest.
Me too.
Stupid. I don't know a single thing Ernest Hemingway.
Only one of them saved Christmas, man.
Bill Burge.
Bill Burr?
That ain't Ernest.
Oh. Anyway, I've been Jan. He's been Jeff. He's been Turbo. Sean. He's been Dan. And he's been the
Oops.
Hog Slammer. Mike
We're
Benai.
not doing that past this.
Yeah, we are, folks. Oh, yeah, don't worry. That'll get people to stop doing it. It's completed.
PogSlammer.life. Go to PogSlammer.life.
PogSlammer.life. Mitch Tolkoto.
It turns out if you go to the right side, it's a high pitch.
And the left side is low.
Yeah. Need to be low for the Pog Slammer.
Pog Slammer.
Dan, can you just say Pog Slammer 3000?
Pog Slammer 3000.
And we're